What is up, book lovers? It's your boy the C's, and we're here today with the very first reading vlog. A lot of you were interested and very supportive of the idea of doing a reading vlog, so I figured we would kind of see how it goes. So the main goal with this very first reading vlog that we're doing is I want to kind of clean up all of the books that I am currently reading so that we can start this reading journey together, right? And what that means is I have 3 current books that I'm reading that are in different levels of like done. Our goal for this reading vlog is that I want to finish all 3 of these with you guys so that the next thing that I read, I can bring you guys along from start to finish. So the very first one that we're going to try to finish is Brandon Sanderson, Edgedancer. This one is like a pretty short novella that you're supposed to read. You're not supposed to, you don't have to. If you want to, you can, in between the Words of Radiance and Oathbringer. I read this after Oathbringer. It's just like supplemental reading pretty much. So it's not really necessary for you to like understand the main line, but if you want to, you can. So we're gonna finish this one. We're pretty close. We're like, I think 10 pages till the end of the book. Brandon Sanderson's Edgedancer is officially done. This was a pretty easy and light read. So in this book, we have our character named Lift, who is, I believe, 13 years old, or pretty young. She is a Radiant. And in this one, she leaves the Palace of Azir where we last saw her because she was getting too comfortable in there and people started to recognize her. And she ends up in this new town, which sounds pretty cool. There's like a little picture of it. She just left Azimir. I said that wrong. She left Azimir and she's heading to a town called Yada. I'm probably gonna say these names wrong, so forgive me. And there is an illustration, which I love whenever authors do that. So this is what the town kind of looks like. Let's see, right? It's like cut inside of the dirt, and this middle section is kind of like, it's an important set piece for the story later on. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. She doesn't really understand her power. She isn't really using them to its fullest capabilities. She has this power of like, she calls it her awesomeness, or she becomes awesome, and she's able to like slide around and like be super slick, right? You're supposed to do it like on your feet like normal and kind of like skate around, but she is incapable of doing that. So like this whole story is pretty much kind of like her kind of learning what she wants from herself because of her like because in the beginning of the story she had like this inability to understand that the world is complex and everyone is just as lost as she is, and that thought before scared her, and she didn't want to come to terms with reality that everyone around her doesn't know what they're doing. Everyone around her doesn't just automatically know exactly what to do. Right. She claims she didn't come here for a specific reason, but I think, but we're pretty sure she's coming here in chase of darkness, and this darkness fella is hunting different Radiants, some of which don't even know that they're Radiants because this is a generally new term. This is a new thing that's going on in the world, right? So most of these people are like beginning uses of their powers and don't really know what's going on. So, you know, she gets into the city, she gets into trouble, and then she's kind of like investigating, and she's trying to figure out who is it that darkness is hunting. And towards the end of the book, she kind of just starts accepting the new reality of what she is, and that she needs to help people, right? She needs to remember those who are forgotten, or something along those lines. And she will listen to those who are ignored. That's kind of like her inner goal or whatever. So this is kind of like, it's a supplementary reading between the Words of Radiance and this one in Oathbringer, because in Oathbringer, the one I already finished Oathbringer, she kind of just like, she pops in towards the end and she's like vastly different, right, from the last time that we saw her. So it's a cool way of kind of introducing her and like how she thinks, because we don't really get to spend that much time with her in the main story. So this is kind of like giving her like, okay, here's the growth, right? And as Brandon Sanderson says in like the after after note at the end of the book that he plans on giving her a bigger role in the main series, right? But doesn't want to spend time in the main series giving like the background, right? So this one kind of just helps, like, you know, she went to the Night Mother to never change and never grow old. Like this internal struggle of like how she's not supposed to change, but within inside of herself she is changing and the world is changing. And you know, it's kind of nice and cool. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing, right? You could tell this is supposed to be like a very quick side story, right? And I think that she will get a more impactful, a more emotional, a more intense series of events in the main line whenever that comes out. So this one is all right? It's solid, right? It's Brandon Sanderson. If you like Brandon Sanderson's writing, I think you will like this one as a supplementary, easy between. Is it necessary? I would say no, but a lot of like diehard fans will say that it is necessary, so you get all of the Cosmere, right? I give this one, I would say, honestly, I would give this like a 6. To me, I think in the future, it's gonna just kind of like, it's gonna merge together with like Oathbringer, and I'm not gonna think of it as its own series, you know what I mean? Like I think of Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, and Oathbringer, but in my head I'm not gonna remember, oh, Edgedancer. I think it's gonna merge in the future into Oathbringer, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I apologize. These are just my thoughts, you know. Then we have, there's no cover because I took it off, but Dune Messiah. This one, we have that much. I think about 60 pages in. 60 pages in, okay? One book down, we are officially on the next one, on Dune Messiah. I am currently on page 224 out of, I believe, around 260. So I'm pretty close to finishing, okay? So let's do a little update of what the story is like so far. This book is definitely better than Edgedancer, obviously. If you like Dune, the first one, a lot, you're 100% gonna enjoy this one. But if you found it kind of like confusing or difficult or whatever, I don't think this is gonna be for you. This to me feels like a connector, a bridge between the next big event. I'm like 200 pages in, right? And I get the feeling the whole way through since I started this, I had the feeling that like this isn't really like, this is gonna be a catalyst. The events in this book are the catalyst for what's to come. And so pretty much, let's get a little synopsis here. Pretty much, we after the events of Dune, we come back to Paul Atreides' life, and pretty much his life as an emperor of pretty much like what, the like multiple galaxies, the universe, or something like that. Last time we left off, he just became the ruler of Arrakis, of Dune, of the Sand World, right? And he was like threatening the Empire. So now he's emperor of everything, and he's like going through and causing a lot of war in the name of his father and religion, and a lot of like complexities there. He is like murdering a bunch of people, pretty much like causing genocide throughout like the whole universe. And we see him in a position of power, and it feels like it's been years now since, and like the whole world has changed pretty much. This whole book feels like he is just accepting the reality of what has to happen. And to me what it feels like is that he is going to die at the end of this book because of his power of his like future sight, or whatever it's called. He sees the other paths, the other realities, and he is choosing the lesser of evils, even though what we know of him and how other people see him from an outside perspective, that people believe that he is truly evil, and all of this death that he causes. I'm wondering how bad the other realities would be or are if this is the best choice that he sees, that he must follow these steps, that he cannot get off of this path, for if he does, it would become worse. Right? And I think that's a crazy thing, right? So he's accepting his fate here, and he's dealing with his own morality. I think he believes that he isn't even the main character of his own story, right? I get the feeling that he's accepting that he has to die, right? The part where I just got to, towards the end of the book, right? I'm not done yet, but we just got the part where he was going to grab another gula or whatever due to a Freeman conspiracy, and they use like atomics on him that caused him to go blind. But he knew this was coming, and he was well aware that it was happening, but he's using this as a way to like further his like godlike status or his like divinity power that these people don't know about, right? Because he has no eyes, it's just empty sockets now. And people are coming, he's able to like look at you and tell you exactly what you're wearing, what face you're making due to his power, right? But I also just got to the part where Hate, Duncan, Idaho, right? Where he's talking to the other Gula, and they're like using him to fight Paul, or pretty much murder Paul or something like that. There's a lot of conspiracies going on, and I just got to the part where like they finally got the original Duncan, Idaho to come up out of the Gula, the guy, and pretty much like plant commands and seeds of what needs to happen to get rid of Paul. So I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know how it's gonna end. I get a feeling that Paul's gonna die, and that this betrayal of Duncan, Idaho, because he can't control it. I do think Paul is well aware that something's gonna happen, but I don't think he knows the extent of it. Because I think he knows that his wife Chani is not gonna be able to make the birth like of their child. So it's interesting. It's interesting, right? Like how much does he actually see? We know he sees a lot. Anyways, that's where we're at now. We will finish the story here and see how it is. It's just, this is like, it feels like, obviously we get a lot with Paul and his sister Alia, but there's also like the complexities of every other organization and their own conspiracies to gain control of the universe, right? You have the Ben Gesserit, and then the other one I can't even pronounce, the Telaxiu. There's so many conspiracies upon conspiracies, and you know, what do these brothers and sisters see? And I wonder what the next book is gonna be about. I know the name of it, so I can kind of get theories from where I'm at right now. The next book is called The Children of Dune, and I'm thinking it has to do with Alia is gonna somehow have a kid, and I also think Paul is gonna end up with a kid, one or two, maybe twins, I don't know. Florence Pugh's character, what was her name? Irilyn, you know, the one that's been like begging for a child with Paul. Those are my theories right now. We'll see if those are correct at all when the time comes, but that's where we're at. We will be spending more time finishing this book real soon. Just did a little bit of reading, and we are currently, Chani is currently, okay, oh my god, okay, here we go. Alia, I believe Alia is now aware that she is gonna have a child, and that her child is gonna be with Duncan, Idaho. So that's gonna be interesting. We are now currently, Chani is about to have her baby, and this is like right after the chapter of Duncan, Idaho getting his like secret orders that he's not even aware of. And the whole time, Chani is like dealing with like the change of everything around her that she used to be familiar with. She wants Dune Arrakis to stay as it used to be in her memory, but now she is, I think she doesn't like all the changes that came to the world. But she's about to have the baby, and Duncan, Idaho just realized that there was some sort of compulsion that was commanded to him by Bajaz. So I wonder if he's gonna be able to combat against it, or if he's gonna do the same thing Paul does and accept the reality that's laid out in front of him. And I think Chani's not gonna make it. I think Chani's not gonna make it. Well, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Dune Messiah is done. So last time we left off, it was Chani's birth. And from my theory was correct, but also not correct. Paul does die, but not in the way that I thought. His fear was the darkness of his vision, because for some reason once his kids are born, he loses his powers. But during this moment, there was like a conspiracy with Scytale or whatever his name is, and he was like threatening the babies, and Paul was able to see himself through the eyes of his son. His son is exactly like Alia, who the child was able to live, was aware in the womb and was able to live every single life of the male side of the genetic tree, I guess, of the Atreides. So he was able to see himself, use his son's own eyes, and through his eyes, he was able to take out his knife, his chrysalis knife, and throw it at the guy that was threatening the baby, which was pretty cool, not gonna lie. But now he is officially for realsy blind. He knew what he had to do, and he is using to solidify that Freeman will forever follow him and revere him. Since he is blind, in the Freeman tradition, all blind men must go into the desert freely. So even though he is emperor, that was his last voluntary act. And even though he's gonna die out there, it's my belief that through his son, his actions and his will continue on. But we also see that in his sister, the daughter of Paul, the daughter is the same, and that he sees his mother and Chani at the same time. So that's I don't know, right? This book felt very like, okay, we're done, right? Alia's gonna take control and continue this quest of the universe, and now there's nothing standing in their way. That's what it feels like. I'm excited to see where the next book would go and see like what the vibe is, what's gonna happen, right? Because obviously it's Children of Dune, so are we gonna take the perspective of the kids, the sons, and because he has the same ability that Alia has, but now it's on Paul's side instead of the Ben Gesserit side of Alia, is he gonna continue and like Paul's own will is gonna like continue moving forward? So I'm trying to envision what exactly this means and what the plan is. Are they just gonna cause more destruction throughout the universe? Because like, how do you yeah, I have no concept of what the next book's gonna be about. This felt very like definitive, like a definitive end, right? But I'm guessing it's just gonna be what the children have been doing, right? Because now you have 3 of these. Well, actually, I think Alia doesn't have her visions anymore ever since Chani's birth. But now you have them again without any conspirators standing in their way, right? Because Alia is like in control now with her like vengeance for her brother. I don't know. Anyways, I think this was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it all the way through. Yeah, I don't know. This was a good book. I saw a couple comments saying that like Dune Messiah was like considered a failure when it came out, which is interesting to me because it's good. It feels like another Dune book, but it deals with the complexity of politics and an emperor with his power. And I don't know. There was just like a lot of conspiracies and a lot of like internal struggles with every character. And it felt more of like, I don't think this is correct, but this is how it feels right now. That it felt like a book of the whole thing was different forms of acceptance of grief. I don't know. that's how I feel. I'm gonna give this book a solid 8. I think this is good. I'm gonna thoroughly remember this book forever, I think. And then the very last one, I think this is gonna be, we have easy, medium, and I think this one's gonna be hard. I think this one's gonna be hard for me. We have Stephen King's Wizard and Glass. As you can see, I'm pretty far here on this one. I'm currently on 276, and this one is a total of almost 800 pages. Last time I cracked this open, it was about 6 months ago. So our next goal in this journey, before we start one book at a time, we have Wizard and Glass. I need to just finish this, have it off of my in progress forever, so that we can start this journey together. This book, pretty much what it is a backstory of Roland and his earlier years, or pretty much the beginning, I think, of his of being a true gunslinger, or at least being a gunslinger beginnings. And he is finding his, he's going to the countryside. In my head, I picture it as farmland in Kansas type old western town. I'm sure that's wrong, but that's just what's in my head. And he meets his lover that we've heard him talk about constantly in the last 3 books. I believe her name is Susan. So I think this is we're gonna see how their love came to blossom. And I wonder what the Wizard and Glass title is gonna mean for this book, right? Because the first one was obviously the gunslinger. Second one was the drawing of 3, which was the doors. And then the third one was the wasteland, which makes sense. They're going to the wasteland with the train. So what is this? What's the wizard and what's the glass? You know, I'm excited to see what that's all about, but I'm also not excited at all to read this. So we'll see how far I get, and I'll keep you guys updated. A little update on Stephen King's The Dark Tower, Wizard and Glass. I am currently on page 420. You know what I mean? But so here's pretty much what has happened in the story so far, so that we can kind of get to this together. So what I've read so far is this is pretty much the backstory of Roland and his first lover, Susan Delgado. And he's in this I would say very small village on the countryside type western town, it seems like. And he goes into this town, he meets Susan in the middle of the night, and he instantly falls in love, which is, by the way, crazy. And he's using a fake name. They're calling him Will. And here he's working with the affiliation, because gunslinger, and he is having to count everything, nets, boats, horses, things of that nature, for the affiliation, so that they can maybe use these items for whatever war is happening currently. So that's the setup, right? He falls in love with Susan, and we find out that Susan has been promised to the mayor or some important figure, and because she is a virgin, which is, you know, weird. So she has to deal with that insanity, and if she's soiled or used, so they had to use some sort of witch to prove that she hasn't been used before, which is just something else for sure. And there's a lot of scene where the mayor or this important figure goes and gropes her, and I just got to the point where he dry humps her 2 months before their night, and it's a little bit weird. And what sucks is her aunt that she lives with pretty much treats her like trash, as if she's being over dramatic about the situation, because obviously Susan, she in her mind, she goes somewhere else and kind of she disassociates, right, because of you know, the horrific thing that's happened to her. And her aunt is saying that she's over dramatic and that it's not really a big deal, which is just a crazy thing to say. And I guess that's the point of how horrible these people are in this world. That's the scariness of this, is that these people all seem to think that it's normal, which is you know, asinine as it is. Beyond that, Roland and his crew, they are figuring out some sort of like mystery behind the city, because there's like way too many horses, way too many oxen that's like not accounted for, and it's very suspicious activity. And they also found like oil, and Roland's theory is that they are helping Farson, which is, I don't really know who that is. I may have forgot. I don't recognize that name. Maybe they've talked about him, but I just don't remember him. As of right now, I don't remember him. But Roland's theory is that they are using these horses, these oxens, like in abundance amount, like way too much for a simple village like this. And they found like this oil area thing that are full and looks like it's been used. Roland thinks that Farson is aware of this and is gonna use this oil and figure out how to like refine it so that he can use the old people machinery. And I'm thinking he's thinking of like tanks and stuff like that, because like, you know, those aren't like usable anymore, and they're as good, and everyone knows that, like, you know, that these are like destruction weapons. So Roland thinks that like if he can get this to work, figure that out, and my theory is tanks, that if he figures out how to use this, then the war with the affiliation would be over drastically, and Farson would win, and the affiliation, the side Roland is on, would suffer tremendously. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We're waiting for the next event to happen. But let's talk about Stephen King's like writing, right? Stephen King, I don't know, like I suffer through this. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it properly, so I'm just gonna try. But I think Stephen King is a great writer, but then he goes and like his inner thoughts or quirkiness comes out too much, so unnecessarily, that it like draws me out. But there's moments of writing here that are so like impactful, so great, that I can't put it down. And then like his innermost like heart seeps through the pages, and I'm like, this is kind of weird, you know? Like, and not even like the weird stuff that's in here. I'm talking about like just the way he like describes things, the way he writes, the structures of his sentences, the structure of the chapters. That's what I'm talking about. Like, of course there's weird stuff in here. It's a Stephen King book. You know, it's making you uncomfortable, it's making you wary, you know, like just the way he writes. Cause like, so the biggest example is he was setting up the scene of like a bar, right? And this is where they had their first standoff with the grave hunters, I believe is their name, or coffin hunters, I think, something like that. And then the gunslingers, right? There was a standoff, and this standoff was just like really well written. I was really excited about this, right? That it was like action sequence kind of, and you know, it was like very, there was a lot of tension build up, and it was fun, right? And I was like, I couldn't put it down. But then like after that, it was just like a slog. It was like a slog to kind of just push on through. I don't know. I don't know. Like he goes through like, to me, it goes from like 10 out of 10, and then like every once in a while it just seeps down to like a 2, and it's just like a weird mixture constantly, right? To me, it feels like there's no consistency in the quality here, right? Like the good parts are really good, like masterful even, and then there's just the other parts where I'm like, ugh, let's get a move on, you know? In my head, like books that are 7 out of 10, the whole way through they're 7 out of 10, you know what I mean? This one goes from 10 out of 10 to 2 out of 2 to 6 out of 7 to 6 or 7, and then like 8, you know what I mean? It just bounces back and forth way too much. But we will try to finish this. This is the last thing we need, and then we can start doing solo reading vlogs of singular books one at a time. So we'll see. I think most of this video will be the Wizarding Glass. Yeah, we'll see how long it takes me. So. Oh. It's done. It is finally done. The Dark Tower, Book 4, Wizarding Glass. So I don't know where I stopped last time on the synopsis of where we were, but Roland started a relationship with Susan, and they were just madly in love, and this affected Roland's way of gunslinging and being a leader, and just like the evil characters pretty much were like planning to do stuff with oil tankers and give it to like the main guy in the war so he can use that to refine the oil to use guns or something, or like tanks, probably things that like, you know, run on gas or something like that. But like they were sent here to be safe from the war, so they weren't really like expecting to do all of this, right? Was it as bad as I made it in my head on like when I like quote unquote stopped reading it? I would say no. Am I gonna have fond memories of this book moving forward? I don't think so. I think it's still gonna be one where I think like, wow, this was like tough to get through for some reason. Like, I don't know, like this series is good. There's moments in there where like they are like, it's so fine-tuned. His writing is so fine-tuned in moments where I'm like, this is wonderful, this is amazing. But then every once in a while I'm like, this is like just kind of ridiculous at some points. I don't know if this is a complaint or just something that I've noticed. I still haven't decided that in my head because you just saw me, I just finished it. So I don't know if this is a complaint or if it's just something that I noticed, or if it's maybe something that I like that other books do, or maybe this is just what I like personally. But in this book, I felt that everyone that was evil in only one certain way. Like every single person had like a hive mind of evil, that it was only one wavelength of evil. And I guess like to me, like the other fantasy books that I've read, and like, you know, I play a lot of video games, right? So usually like your evil person has like, when you have different amount of people or like different groups or just, you know, whole bunch of people, they will be evil but in like specific ways, right? And you can like track their like thought processes, like if the writing's good, you can track the thought process and how they thoroughly believe that this is like the correct choice, or if they're just like truly just evil for the funsy onesie of it, right? The evil people in this book all feel the same, and it feels that everyone's evil, and it feels that anyone can be this evil at any given moment due to the circumstances in life, right? So it kind of gives like maybe that's the point. It kind of gives like a negative undertone, or like a negative viewpoint, with pessimistic view of life and of individuals, that the core principles of like everyone can easily be broken down, and everyone will be like the same type of evil, if that makes sense, right? And like, I don't know, I just like, or maybe just this one town that he wrote, they're just all actually evil. I don't know. That's the vibe I was getting from this book. It was like they're all the same, and they would all do vile things if given the chance. Interesting. This was, I'm glad that I finished it. I'm glad that I picked it back up. So now that is everything that I'm currently reading, right? So now we can finally move forward together and read books. You can see my process moving forward. I have an idea already for the next video, but if you go to my book tour video and see the books that I haven't read yet, let me know which one you want me to read. But I think that this was fun. We'll see what it looks like when it's all together. I like reading. I enjoy reading. But officially, that's 3 books down, guys. 3 books down. This was the hardest one. This was the longest one. But I've been like, it's currently 1:22 a.m. in the morning, because whenever I start getting closer to the end of the book, my motivation steers up dramatically, and I can't put the books down. Because usually when I read like just here and there and just like sporadic moments. I don't really sit there and like read for like 30 minutes at a time. I usually don't do that. Like even when like I read in bed, sometimes I read for 10 minutes. Sometimes I could read for an hour. Sometimes I read 2 pages, or sometimes I read 1 page and I go, ooh, not tonight, you know? I think I need to get like in more like a habitual routine to these readings. Okay, but it looks like that's gonna be everything from me today in this Cesar first reading vlog of all time, you know? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you enjoy these types of videos. Let me know if you want to see more of me just reading, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.